The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with the usual sounds of politics. Delegates from dozens of worlds spoke in hushed tones, their translators clicking and whirring. Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim sat in the human section, his hands folded, neatly on the polished table. He wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, clean and without decoration. 3 seats to his left, Captain So-Jin Park watched the other delegates with quiet eyes. Her military uniform was equally plain, but the small weapon at her side marked her as the human military representative. She had not spoken once during the entire session. Dr. Jae-min Lee sat on Hyunwoo's right, a datapad in his hands showing the quantum fold drive specifications. 6 months ago, he had shared this technology freely with every member of the Council. It was humanity's gift to the galaxy, a way to travel between stars faster than ever before. Ships that once took years to cross space could now do it in days. The Veltharian delegate stood at the center podium, his purple skin gleaming under the chamber lights. His voice carried the authority of an empire that had ruled this part of space for 1,000 years. "The motion passes," he announced. "Human expansion is limited to current territorial boundaries. Human research will be monitored by Council oversight teams." Hyunwoo's face did not change. He had expected this. For weeks, rumors had circulated through the diplomatic channels. The Council feared humanity's rapid growth. In just 200 years, humans had gone from a single world to dozens of colonies. Their technology advanced at a pace that worried older species. Furthermore, the Veltharian continued, all human quantum fold technology will be classified as potentially dangerous. No further development without Council approval. Dr. Jae-min looked down at his datapad. The quantum fold drive had been his life's work. He had shared it because he believed in cooperation between species. He thought it would bring the galaxy together. Instead, it had made them afraid. The Nexus Collective representative, a creature that looked like walking crystal, added its mechanical voice to the announcement. These measures protect galactic stability. Humanity's unchecked advancement threatens the balance we have maintained for millennia. Other delegates nodded in agreement. The bird-like Altarians ruffled their feathers in approval. The aquatic cetaceans bubbled agreement from their water tanks. Species after species supported the restrictions. They had voted while humanity slept, using time zone differences to exclude human input. Hyunwoo slowly closed the folder in front of him. The sound was soft, but in the sudden quiet of the chamber, it seemed loud. He stood up, his chair sliding, back with barely a whisper. Every eye in the room turned to him. The Veltharian delegate paused, expecting an angry speech. They all did. Humans were known for their emotional responses, their passionate defenses of their rights. The chamber waited for Hyunwoo to demand explanations, to threaten consequences, to storm out in fury. Instead, Hyunwoo simply gathered his papers. He stacked them neatly, checking that every edge was aligned. He picked up his personal tablet and slipped it into his jacket pocket. He straightened his tie, a small gesture that somehow carried weight. Dr. Jae-min watched his ambassador for a moment, then powered down his datapad. The screen went dark, taking with it the quantum fold specifications that had changed galactic civilization. He stood as well, his movements careful and deliberate. Captain So-Jin was already rising from her chair. Her hand moved to her sidearm, and for a moment the alien delegates tensed. But she simply unclipped the weapon from her belt, still in its holster. She placed it gently on the table in front of her seat. The 3 humans walked toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber, a steady rhythm that seemed to count down to something. Other human delegates from smaller colonies and research stations followed. One by one, they rose from their seats and joined the procession. Dr. Soo-min Choi from the agricultural worlds left her farming reports on her desk. Engineer Kyung-Soo Park from the mining colonies powered down his mineral survey displays. Trade Representative Haewon Kim closed her economic projections without saving them. As they walked, no human spoke. No one looked back. No one made gestures of anger or defiance. They simply left, their dignity intact and their silence more powerful than any words could have been. The Veltharian delegate finally found his voice. Ambassador Kim, surely we can discuss this matter further. These restrictions are for the good of all species. Hyunwoo did not stop walking. He did not turn around. He did not acknowledge that he had heard anything at all. The great doors of the chamber stood open, leading to the corridor beyond. Captain So-jin reached them first and stepped through without hesitation. Dr. Jae-min followed, then Hyunwoo. The other humans filed out behind them, a river of blue uniforms flowing away from the chamber. In the corridor, news reporters from a dozen worlds waited with their cameras and recording devices. They thrust microphones toward the departing humans, shouting questions in multiple languages. Ambassador Kim, what is humanity's response? Dr. Lee, will you continue quantum fold research? Captain Park, is this a threat to galactic peace? The humans walked past the reporters as if they were not there. Their faces showed no anger, no sadness, no fear. They looked like people who had simply finished their business and were going home. Behind them, the council chamber erupted in confused voices. Some delegates demanded that the humans return to explain themselves. Others worried about what this silence meant. The Veltharian delegate called for order, but his voice sounded less confident than before. At the transport dock, human ships waited in neat rows. They were sleek vessels, painted in the same blue as the diplomatic uniforms. Their engines hummed quietly, ready for departure. The human crews stood at attention as their delegates approached. Hyunwoo paused at the ramp of his ship. For a moment, it seemed he might turn back, might offer some final word to the galaxy that had rejected humanity's friendship. But he simply climbed aboard, followed by his staff and the other delegates. One by one, the human ships lifted off from the dock. They formed a precise formation in space, their blue hulls gleaming against the stars. Then, without any fanfare, they turned toward human space and engaged their quantum fold drives. The drives that Dr. Jae-min had given freely to the galaxy now carried humanity away from it. The ships vanished in flashes of light, leaving only empty space and the echo of their silence. In the council chamber, the delegates sat in stunned quiet, finally understanding that something had changed forever. 2 years had passed since the humans walked away from the Galactic Council. Engineer Dong-hyun Cho stood on the observation deck of Frontier Station 7, watching the construction of the latest sensor array. The massive structure stretched. For kilometers in space, its metallic arms reaching out like a giant spider web. Array 17 is online, his assistant reported. All border sectors now have full coverage. Dong-hyun nodded as he watched the final components lock into place. The sensor network had been his project from the beginning. When humanity decided to isolate themselves, they needed to know what was happening outside their borders. But more importantly, they needed to make sure no one could see what was happening inside. The arrays did more than just detect ships. They created a wall of interference that blocked all long-range sensors from the outside. Any alien ship that tried to scan human space would see nothing but static. It was like humanity had wrapped themselves in a blanket of darkness. "Sir, we have another probe attempt at Sector 12, the assistant said. Dong-hyun pulled up the display on his screen. A small alien scout ship was approaching the border, its sensors active and searching. It was the 15th probe this month. The galaxy was getting curious about human silence. "Send Commander Yu-jin," Dong-hyun said quietly. 10 minutes later, the human patrol ship Silent Runner appeared near the alien probe. Commander Yu-jin Kang watched the alien vessel from her captain's chair. Her ship was one of the new designs, built during the isolation years. It looked nothing like the old human ships the galaxy remembered. The silent runner was sleek and dark, almost black against the stars. Its hull showed no markings, no identification numbers, no flags or symbols. It simply existed, like a shadow that had learned to fly. "Alien vessel, you are approaching restricted space," Yujin transmitted. Her voice was calm and professional. "Please alter your course." The alien ship, a Nexus Collective scout, responded immediately. "Human vessel, this is Scout Captain Vel 9. We request permission to deliver a message from the Galactic Council." Yujin said nothing. The silent runner moved closer to the alien ship, not threatening, but clearly present. Its weapons remained powered down, but something about the human vessel made the alien captain nervous. "Please respond," the alien tried again. "We have important diplomatic communications." Yujin activated her ship's escort protocols. The silent runner positioned itself alongside the alien scout and began gently pushing it away from the border. Not with force, but with careful maneuvering that made it clear the scout was not welcome. The alien captain tried several more times to communicate, growing more desperate with each attempt. Finally, the scout ship turned around and flew back toward Council space. Yujin watched it go, then returned to her patrol route. She never spoke another word. This scene repeated itself dozens of times across human borders. The Silent Fleet, as they came to be known, consisted of unmarked human ships that patrolled the edges of human space. They never fired weapons, never made threats, never showed anger. They simply appeared, escorted intruders away, and vanished back into the darkness. Meanwhile, deep inside human space, Dr. Yoon-Hai Song worked in her laboratory on New Seoul Station. The research facility had been built in the 2 years since humanity's departure from galactic politics. Without council oversight, without restrictions, without fear of alien interference, human science had exploded forward. "The quantum resonance tests are complete," her research partner, Dr. Min-Ho Yoon, announced. "The new drive system is 40% more efficient than the old quantum fold technology." Yoon-Hai smiled as she looked at the data. The quantum fold drive that Dr. Jaemin Lee had shared with the galaxy was already outdated. Humanity had moved far beyond it. They had developed new materials, new energy sources, new ways of understanding the universe itself. "What about the defense applications?" she asked. Min-Ho brought up another screen. "The shield generators can now deflect energy weapons completely. Physical projectiles are stopped at the molecular level. And the new stealth technology makes our ships invisible to any known scanning method." Yoon-Hai nodded. Every human colony now had these advanced defenses. Every human ship used the new stealth systems, while the galaxy still relied on technology. That was decades old. Humanity had quietly become the most advanced civilization in known space. "Any word from the Council monitoring stations?" Min-Ho asked. "They keep trying to scan our space," Yoon-Hai replied. "All they see is empty void. As far as their instruments can tell, human space is completely uninhabited." This was partly true. Humanity had learned to hide their energy signatures, to mask their communications, to make their presence nearly invisible. But they were far from inactive. Human colonies were expanding faster than ever, but they did it in secret. New worlds were settled using routes that avoided all alien detection. On Earth, President Soo Young-han read the daily reports in her office. The messages from the Galactic Council had piled up over the 2 years. Hundreds of attempts at communication, each more desperate than the last. Requests for meetings, offers of trade deals, apologies that sounded less sincere each time they were sent. "The Council trade routes are showing strain," her economic advisor reported. "Without human logistics support, their shipping efficiency has dropped by 30%. "And the border conflicts?" the president asked. 7 new wars have started since we left. The Council Mediation Service has failed to resolve any of them without human diplomatic support." President Han looked out her window at the city below. Earth looked peaceful, prosperous even. The isolation years had been good for humanity. without the constant political pressure from the Council, without the need to compromise with alien interests. Humanity had been free to grow in their own way. "Ma'am, there's something else," the advisor said carefully. "Our deep space monitors are detecting unusual activity on the galactic rim. Something is moving out there." President Han turned back to her desk. "What kind of something?" "Unknown. The signals are unlike anything in our databases, but whatever it is, it's big, and it's heading toward Council space." The president considered this information. For 2 years, humanity had watched the galaxy from a distance, isolated but aware. They had seen the Council struggle without human innovation, seen conflicts escalate without human mediation, seen technology stagnate without human research. But now something new was coming, something that might change everything. "Continue monitoring," she ordered, "but maintain our isolation. Whatever is coming, it's the Council's problem to solve." As the months passed, more alien ships appeared at human borders. Not just scouts now, but diplomatic vessels, trade ships, even military escorts carrying important Council members. All were turned away by the silent fleet, their messages unheard, their pleas ignored. Humanity had learned to live without the galaxy. The question was whether the galaxy could learn to live without humanity. Admiral Taeho Shin stood in the command center of Hidden Watch Station, humanity's most secret observation post. The station hung in dark space, invisible to all known scanning methods, watching the galaxy through sensors that could see across. Hundreds of light years. What he was seeing now made his blood run cold. "How many ships have we lost contact with?" he asked his intelligence officer. 17 Council fleets in the past month," Lieutenant Hyojin Kang replied, her voice steady, despite the grim numbers. "The Veltharian Third Fleet gone. The Nexus Defense Squadron gone. Even the Alteran Border Guard has stopped responding." Taeho watched the display screen showing the outer rim of the galaxy. Red markers indicated where Council forces had last been detected before vanishing completely. The pattern was clear and terrifying. Something was eating its way through the galaxy's defenses like acid through metal. "Show me the footage from Kepler Station," he ordered. The screen changed to display grainy images captured by a human spy. Probe. What Taeho saw defied everything he knew about warfare. Massive mechanical shapes moved through space, each one the size of a city. They weren't ships in any sense he understood. They looked more like flying factories bristling with strange weapons and collection devices. "The Council is calling them Devourers," Hyojin explained. "They appear at a star system, strip it completely of all metal and energy, then move to the next target. They don't negotiate, don't communicate, don't even seem to notice when anyone tries to surrender." Taeho watched as one of the mechanical monsters approached a Council defense station. The station's shields, strong enough to stop any known weapon, simply dissolved when the Devourer fired. The hull of the station came apart like paper in a strong wind. Within minutes, nothing remained but floating debris that the machine quickly collected. "What about Council response?" Taeho asked. "Complete failure," Hyojin said bluntly. "Their weapons can't penetrate Devourer armor. Their ships are too slow to escape. Their tactics haven't changed in centuries, and these machines seem designed to counter everything they know how to do." Taeho turned away from the screen. This was exactly what humanity's leaders had feared when they left the Council. Without human innovation, without human tactical thinking, the galaxy had grown stagnant. They had become comfortable with their old ways, certain that their ancient methods would always be enough. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth Command," his communications officer announced. "Put it through," Taeho said. General Won-Sik Nam appeared on the screen, his face serious but calm. Behind him, Taeho could see the war room on Earth, filled with officers studying the same data that Hidden Watch Station was collecting. "Admiral, I'm sure you've seen the reports," Won-Sik said without preamble. "The Devourers have destroyed 2/3 of Council military forces. At their current rate of advance, they'll reach the core worlds within 6 months. "What are our orders, General?" Tejo asked, though he suspected he already knew. Observe and record only. Do not engage. Do not reveal our presence. Humanity's safety comes first. Tejo nodded, but something in his chest felt heavy. Sir, our analysis suggests these machines aren't random destroyers. They're being selective about what they take, what they destroy. Someone is controlling them. Wansik's expression darkened. Explain. They're harvesting specific materials and technologies. Always the same types, always in the same order. It's like they're following a shopping list. On Earth, General Wansik studied the reports flowing across his desk. The Devourer advance had accelerated in recent weeks. Entire sectors of Council. Space were now empty, their populations evacuated or worse. The greatest civilizations in the galaxy were collapsing like dominoes. Sir, his aide announced, we have multiple incoming transmissions from Council representatives. Wansik looked at the communication queue. Hundreds of messages from desperate alien leaders, each more frantic than the last. He had standing orders not to respond to any Council communications, but these were different. These weren't political messages or trade requests. These were cries for help from a dying civilization. File them with the others, he said finally. Maintain communication silence. Sir, some of these messages are from species that supported humanity in the past. The Centauri delegation that voted against the restrictions. The mining guilds that traded fairly with human colonies. Wansik paused. It was true that not every species had betrayed humanity. Some had spoken against the restrictions, though their voices had been outvoted. Some had maintained respectful relations with human traders and diplomats. But orders were orders. No exceptions, he said. Humanity cannot risk exposure. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic station at Proxima Base, former Council liaison Mi Kyung-bae sorted through the daily flood of incoming messages. Her job had changed dramatically since humanity's isolation began. Instead of facilitating communication between humans and aliens, she now managed the complete absence of it. Another formal apology from the Veltharian Emperor, her assistant, announced. An emergency meeting request from 37 council members. Mi Kyung didn't even look up from her work. Standard response. File in the archives. The archives had grown enormous over the past months. Thousands of desperate messages from council leaders, some offering everything they owned in exchange for human help. Trade agreements that would give humanity entire star systems. Technology exchanges that would make humans the official leaders of galactic civilization. Even marriage proposals from alien royalty hoping to create political bonds. Ma'am, this one is different, her assistant said carefully. It's from the Alteran Nest Mother. She's offering to turn over the species that voted for the human restrictions. Mi Kyung finally looked up. The Altarians were one of the oldest council species, known for their honor and dignity. For their leader to offer such a thing showed how desperate the situation had become. Same response, Mi Kyung said firmly. Humanity is not available for consultation. As the weeks passed, the Council's attempts at contact became increasingly chaotic. Former allies turned on each other, blaming one another for humanity's departure. Some species withdrew from the Council entirely, hoping that isolation would protect them as it seemed to protect humanity. The Nexus Collective sent a delegation of their finest diplomats to human space, only to be escorted away by silent fleet, ships that appeared from nowhere. The Veltharian Empire offered to dissolve itself and give all its worlds to humanity. The aquatic cetaceans even tried sending musical messages, hoping to appeal to human emotions. None of it mattered. Humanity remained silent, invisible, and unreachable while the galaxy burned around them. But in the hidden command centers and secret observation posts, human leaders watched the destruction with growing concern. The Devourers weren't just destroying the Council. They were consuming everything needed to build something much larger, much more dangerous. And when they finished with council space, there was only one direction left for them to go. President Su Young Han stood before the massive viewing screen in Earth's crisis center, watching the most powerful beings in the galaxy humiliate themselves. The Veltharian Emperor himself had arrived at the border of human space in a damaged warship, its hull scarred by devourer weapons. His purple skin looked pale and sickly as he broadcast his message directly toward human territory. "People of Earth," the Emperor began, his voice shaking, "I come before you in our darkest hour to offer the deepest apologies of my empire. We were wrong to restrict your growth. We were wrong to fear your advancement. We were fools who let pride blind us to your value." President Han watched without expression as the alien ruler who had once commanded 1,000 worlds now begged for forgiveness. Behind her, the Human Leadership Council observed in silence. Defense Minister Jong-Soo Kim, Science Director A-Rin Park, and Intelligence Chief Dong-Woo Lee all watched the pathetic display with the same stone faces. "We offer you everything," the Emperor continued. "Our remaining territories, our technology, our complete submission, please. In the name of all that lives in this galaxy, help us stop these machines before they destroy everything." The message ended, and the command center remained quiet for several minutes. President Han turned to her council. Analysis, intelligence. Chief Dong-Woo spoke first. "This is the 7th formal apology we've received this week. The Nexus Collective sent 3 different delegations, each blaming the others for the original betrayal. The Altarians are offering to execute every member of their council who voted against us. The aquatic cetaceans have been singing apology songs for 6 hours straight." "What about the Devourers?" President Han asked. Science Director A-Rin pulled up the latest reports. "They've consumed 60% of council space. But our analysis shows something troubling. They're not just randomly destroying everything. They're being very selective about what they take." She highlighted sections of the galactic map. "Look at the pattern. They always take the same materials in the same order. Quantum-grade metals first, then energy storage crystals, then computing cores. They're building something specific." Admiral Byung-hun Lee joined the discussion via secure transmission from his flagship. His face appeared on the screen, tired but alert. "My scouts have been tracking the collected materials. The Devourers are moving everything to a construction site in the galactic void, outside normal space." "Construction site?" President Han leaned forward. "Something massive," Byung-hun confirmed. "Our estimates suggest it's larger than most star systems. Whatever they're building, it requires the resources of entire civilizations." Defense Minister Jong-Soo frowned. "And when they finish with council space?" "They'll need more materials," A-Rin said quietly. "Human space has everything they've been collecting, but in much more advanced forms. Our quantum metals are purer, our energy crystals more efficient, our computing systems more powerful." The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Humanity's isolation had protected them from the Devourers so far, but it might have also made them a more valuable target. "Ma'am," the communications officer announced, "we have another incoming message. This one is different." The screen changed to show a being that looked like living crystal, one of the Nexus Collective's senior members. But this crystal was cracked and dim, clearly damaged by the ongoing war. "Humans," the being said, its mechanical voice distorted by interference. "I am Zek Prime 9, former council speaker. I wish to confess our crimes against your species and beg for mercy we do not deserve." President Han had heard dozens of similar messages, but something about this one felt different. "We did not restrict your growth because we feared you would harm the galaxy," the crystal being continued. "We restricted you because we feared you would surpass us. We saw your rapid advancement and knew that within a few generations you would make our ancient empires look primitive and weak." The confession continued with brutal honesty. We convinced ourselves that limiting your expansion was for galactic peace, but the truth is simpler. We were old, comfortable, and afraid of change. Your species represented everything we had forgotten how to be. Curious, innovative, growing. We tried to stop you because we could not bear to be left behind. President Han exchanged glances with her council. This was not like the other apologies, which focused on what humanity could do for the aliens. This one acknowledged the real reasons behind the betrayal. Now our cowardice has doomed us all. Zek Prime 9 continued. The Devourers destroy us easily because we stopped advancing centuries ago. We have no new ideas, no fresh solutions, no hope of victory. We chose stagnation over growth, and now we die for that choice. The message ended with the crystal being simply powering down, too damaged to continue broadcasting. At least that one was honest, Jong-Soo muttered. Dr. Jin A. Park entered the command center carrying a data tablet filled with her latest analysis. As the galaxy's leading expert on alien technology, she had been studying everything they could learn about the Devourers. "Ma'am, I've made a breakthrough," she announced. "The Devourers aren't just collecting random materials, they're following a construction blueprint that matches theoretical designs for a galaxy-spanning superweapon." She activated the holographic display, showing a three-dimensional model of the structure being built in the void. If completed, this device could destroy or control every star system in the galaxy simultaneously. The Devourers aren't just conquerors. They're the construction crew for something that will end all life as we know it. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about saving the Council species who had betrayed humanity. This was about preventing the extinction of all sentient life in the galaxy. Time frame for completion? President Han asked. "Based on current collection rates, 6 months, Jin-A replied. "Less if they get access to human technology and materials." Admiral Byung-hun's voice came through the speakers. "Ma'am, my scouts report that Devourer advance forces are probing the edges of human space. They're testing our stealth barriers." Can. "Our defenses hold?" Jong-Soo asked. "For now," Byung-hun said. "But if they concentrate their full force against us, even our advanced technology might not be enough. These machines seem designed to counter any defensive strategy." President Han looked around the room at her advisors, each face reflecting the weight of an impossible decision. Outside, more alien delegations continued to arrive at human borders, their apologies growing more desperate by the hour. The Altarian nest mother had sent her own children as hostages to prove her sincerity. The remaining cetacean pods had offered to extinct their own species if it would convince humanity to help. But the apologies were crumbling even as they were made. Intercepted communications showed Council species turning on each other, blaming former allies and making separate deals with humanity behind each other's backs. The unity that had once voted against human expansion was falling apart in panic and desperation. The question facing humanity was no longer whether they should forgive the galaxy's betrayal. The question was whether they could afford to let the galaxy die even if saving it meant risking everything they had built in isolation. Fleet Admiral Changmin Ko stood on the bridge of the Harmony, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Around him, the largest fleet in human history prepared for battle. 300 ships hung in space, each one invisible to alien sensors, each one carrying weapons and defenses that the galaxy had never seen. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Captain Yu-Jin Nam announced from the tactical station. Her voice was steady, but Changmin could see the tension in her shoulders. This would be humanity's first military action in over 3 years. Changmin looked at the display showing Devourer positions. The mechanical monsters had finally reached the border of human space, their advanced scouts testing humanity's defenses. But they had found something they didn't expect. Instead of fleeing like every other species, humanity had come out to meet them. "Begin the attack," Changmin ordered. The human fleet dropped their stealth systems simultaneously, appearing from nowhere like ghosts, becoming solid. The Devourers, massive as cities and seemingly unstoppable, suddenly found themselves surrounded by ships that shouldn't exist. Changmin watched as his weapons officers opened fire. The new quantum disruptor cannons, developed during humanity's years of isolation, struck the Devourer machines with devastating effect. Armor that had shrugged off every council weapon began to crack and crumble. "Direct hit on the lead unit," Captain Nam reported. "Their shields are failing." "All ships, focus fire," Changmin commanded. "Show them what humans can do when we're not holding back." The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. For months, the Devourers had swept through Council space like a natural disaster, unstoppable and inevitable. Now they faced an enemy that fought back with weapons they couldn't counter and tactics they couldn't predict. One by one, the massive machines fell, their hulls split open, spilling collected materials and strange technology into space. Within an hour, the entire Devourer advance force had been destroyed. But Changmin knew this was only the beginning. His fleet had faced maybe 50 Devourers. Intelligence reports suggested there were thousands more, plus whatever was being built in the galactic void. On Earth, Ambassador Yeonsu Lim prepared for humanity's first public statement in 3 years. She stood in the communications center, her blue diplomatic uniform pressed and perfect. Behind her, the flag of United Earth hung alongside banners representing all human colonies. "Open channels to all known frequencies," she told the broadcast. Technician: "I want every living being in the galaxy to hear this." The technician nodded. "Channels open, Ambassador. You're transmitting to every world, every ship, every station that still has power to receive." Yeonsu looked directly into the camera, her expression calm but determined. When she spoke, her words carried across the galaxy to billions of desperate survivors. "This is Ambassador Yeonsu Lim of the United Human Coalition. For the first time in 3 years, humanity speaks to the galaxy." In the ruins of Council space, survivors gathered around whatever communication devices they could find. On refugee ships fleeing the destruction, alien families huddled together to listen. Even the proud Veltharian Emperor, hiding in his last remaining fortress, stopped to hear what humanity would say. "We are aware of your situation," Yeonsu continued. "We have watched the Devourers destroy your worlds and your fleets. We have received your messages of apology, your offers of submission, your pleas for help." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle across space. "We do not act today for forgiveness. We do not act for politics. We do not act because you have finally admitted your mistakes. We act because stopping the Devourers is the right thing to do, regardless of our past differences with your governments." The message was simple, direct, and more powerful than any threat could have been. Humanity would save the galaxy not because the galaxy deserved it, but because humanity chose to do what was right. Commander Seok Jin Hwang led the analysis team that had finally solved the mystery of the Devourer's true purpose. Working from captured machine parts and intercepted communications, his team had pieced together the terrifying truth. "The construction project in the void is nearly complete," he reported to the Emergency Council meeting. "It's not a weapon, in the traditional sense. It's a galactic reset device." President Han leaned forward. "Explain." "The Devourers were built by an ancient civilization that died out millions of years ago. Before they vanished, they created this system as a failsafe. If galactic civilization ever became stagnant, if species stopped growing and learning, the device would activate to clear the slate and start over." The implications were staggering. "You're saying this has happened before?" Science Director Erin asked. "Multiple times," Seok Jin confirmed. "The archaeological evidence suggests the galaxy has been reset at least 6 times in the past 100 million years. Each time, when the dominant species became too comfortable, too afraid of change, the Devourers emerged to destroy everything and give evolution another chance." "But why now?" Defense Minister Jong-soo wanted to know. "Because the Council matched the criteria perfectly," Seok Jin explained. "They had become exactly what the ancient builders feared, powerful but stagnant, advanced but unwilling to grow. When they tried to limit human expansion and innovation, they triggered the activation sequence. The irony was bitter. The Council's fear of human advancement had caused the very catastrophe they had tried to prevent. As the human fleet advanced deeper into former Council space, they found the survivors of once mighty civilizations huddled in refugee camps and hidden bases. The proud Veltharian Empire had been reduced to a few dozen ships. The vast Nexus Collective existed now as scattered fragments hiding in asteroid fields. But when human ships arrived to evacuate survivors, something unexpected happened. Instead of demanding submission or payment, humanity simply helped. Medical. Ships provided treatment for the wounded. Transport vessels carried refugees to safety. Supply ships distributed food and equipment without asking for anything in return. The galaxy had expected humanity to exact revenge for past wrongs. Instead, they found humans acting with the same quiet dignity they had shown when walking away from the Council 3 years earlier. Former Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim, now serving as humanity's galactic coordinator, established refugee processing centers on human worlds. He watched as millions of aliens received shelter, food, and protection from the species they had once betrayed. "Sir," his aide asked, "many of the refugees are asking how they can repay humanity for this kindness." Hyun-woo considered the question carefully. Outside his office window, he could see alien children playing with human children in the settlement gardens, their different species united by the simple joy of being safe. "Tell them the payment is simple," he said finally. "When this is over, when the galaxy rebuilds, remember this moment. Remember that progress and growth are not things to fear, but things to cherish. And if you ever see another species trying to climb toward something better, don't try to hold them back. Help them climb higher." The human fleet continued its advance toward the galactic void, where the ancient reset device waited in the darkness. Soon, humanity would face the ultimate test of their technological advancement and moral courage. But for the first time in months, the galaxy had hope. Not because they had been forgiven, but because humanity had shown them what true strength looked like. The power to do what was right, even for those who had wronged you.